Jaden Show, and here's your host, Jaden Cornelius. Happy Sunday, you lovely, lovely people. I hope you've had a fantastic week. I have. It's been super busy, but that's what I like, being productive and doing lots and lots of lovely things. I have got a fantastic show for you today. We're going all the way to New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do. To meet the most amazing Vincent DiGeronimo. He's a fantastic singer, songwriter, and we're going to be speaking to him in just a minute. Now, let's go and watch some of this boy in action. This is a fantastic video. This is one of his songs. This is called 1950. Enjoy.
I saw him run, I saw him play, I saw him swing, and I heard him sing. New York City, 1950 in the rain. Joyful music, mid-November 18th day. Like a lightning bolt, a force of nature burned the ground. Angered Holy Ghosts, they rallied faster than the speed of sound. He never had a chance, so I never had a chance. But what we loved is his life. The loudest thunder was not as lucky as the rain. Old skin rhythm, anger struck harder than pain. Broken bones and empty chances, always wrong. Running upstream, almost touching dreams, dark clouds were his all along. He never had a chance, so I never had a chance. But what we'd give to hear him laugh. I saw him run, I saw him play, I saw him swing, and I heard him sing. I have his voice, I have his face, I chased those clouds he couldn't outrace. He never had a chance, so I'll never have a chance. But what we'd give to hear him laugh.
How beautiful was that? Let's go and meet this week's very special guest, the amazing Vincent DiGeronimo. Vincent DiGeronimo, welcome to the Jaden Show and Mexico. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
You're more than welcome, senor. Now, listen, we've just watched your video 1950. You've got a bloody beautiful voice and your music is really, really lovely. How did it all begin for you? Was you kind of just like sitting at home, chilling and thought, oh, I want to play the guitar, or you started it at school? Tell us a little bit about the background story to the man you are today.
Goodness gracious. I will try to, as succinctly as possible, put that together. I started out as a child in theater. I loved theater. My mother loved theater. My father was a drummer and a singer. So I kind of fell into, dance classes and then voice lessons and then musical theater. And I loved that. And my undergrad degree is in theater, actually.
Okay.
But when I was in high school, what inspired me was the Lilith Fair, the concert tour that Sarah McLachlan put together of all female singer-songwriters.
Wow.
Mostly Paula Cole was a huge, and is still a huge influence and inspiration. So from there, I was like, I also still love theater and musical theater and that type of music and performance, but there's also something really magical and different about picking up a guitar or sitting at a piano and kind of writing out your own experiences and making your own art from it.
Absolutely.
So I've kind of been trying to toggle between the two most of my life, sometimes successfully, sometimes not so successfully, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When did you start playing musical instruments? Did you take lessons, or are you self-taught, or how does that work?
I'm self-taught on guitar, ukulele, and piano. I took singing lessons, throughout college because, again, when you major in musical theater, you have to have some semblance of vocal training. So in terms of voice, I have a little more legitimate training, but instrumentation, it's all just placing my fingers on something and saying, oh, that doesn't sound good, or oh, that does sound good. Yeah.
Oh, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Well, no, I could pick up a guitar and wouldn't know whether to use a bow or, do you know what I mean, or a drumstick. I love music and I've been singing from a very early age, but kind of to self-teach myself would be like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't even know where to. I would just like be strumming random nothingness, I think.
But you know what? Sometimes that random nothingness turns into something great. You don't always have to have. I work.
Mate, even though we haven't known each other for long, and I really admire your faith in me, in my abilities, that nothingness is going to sound like a cat being crucified.
I don't know. Look, we are our own worst critics. People have been telling me that since I was about 2 years old. So, no, I worked with a woman once who was very well trained on the piano, and she could pick up sheet music of any variety, any genre, and just play it. But she was like, what I can't do is write my own stuff. She was like, I don't know how to be creative in that way. Wow. So sometimes I think, and sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes maybe that kind of formal training or rigid training might get in the way of relaxing and
feeling my own vibe. No, I worked. I had done this concert. It was a night of the musicals actually, and it was with the guy that was playing Phantom in the West End and the woman that was playing one of the witches in Wicked in the West End in London, and me, who had a 45-minute lesson like back in the day, and I was singing like Italian classical crossover. That was kind of what I was doing at the time, and the guy that played Phantom went, "Man, I wish I could do what you do." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, you like crazy." He said, "I'm trained, like I can't get out of it. Like I can't do like the play with my vocals the way you can play with yours and make it sound part of that story. He goes, I just have to sing like this and it all sounds the same. And it's kind of did, you know. And so I found that really quite amazing that, yeah, you're right. Sometimes you can be too kind of, I don't know, trained, focused into what you've ever learned, right?
Yeah, I think that sometimes people get locked into what, like the textbook definition of where the placement of the voice should be and how to, you know, place your tongue just so, and like all of that stuff. And there's a place for it. I'm not saying that
Absolutely
there's a place for it. I'm just saying that for me, it worked out that, you know, I'm able to put together my little dog and pony show, however it comes.
Well, it's a mighty fine dog and pony, dude.
Like, you know, I'm such a great guitarist. I very basic piano player, guitar player. Like it's really all just a means to an end.
Well, what you're putting together sounds bloody wonderful. And I remember about the whole tongue in your mouth thing. I always ended up trying it and then did kind of sounding more like Sid the Sloth from Ice Age than a particular singer. So we're all talking like this. So,
that's great.
Like, yeah,
I find that to be magical, and I think that you should
really. Well, it's different.
Album just like that.
It's a very niche market, I feel.
It is. I think, you know, I sometimes still get in my head like, am I breathing from the right place? Are my chest and shoulders raising as I breathe? And is the placement forward enough, or am I falling too far back into my, and it just sometimes is a real mind fuck if I
and it also kind of, I think sometimes it takes the emphasis of just being all your authentic self, right? I only had like a 45-minute lesson, and because I was like a pop star in the 90s, and because I had tattoos and piercing and stuff like that, all of a sudden I was the bad boy classical, and I'd gone from 45-minute lesson to doing like a basic demo that was played on the radio the next week. I was on TV the week after, and it was really good, but I didn't really have a clue what I was doing. So I was still being a little pop boy, but I was just singing a little bit more butch.
Yes,
and that's kind of,
and I love the tattoos, by the way.
Oh, cheers. We're not finished yet. I still have more to kind of come in, but yeah, we've got a few more to go. But yeah, and it kind of, I think sometimes, like you're saying, it can just stop you. You're too busy thinking how to do it right and how people are going to perceive whether or not you're a legitimate classical singer or legitimate musical singer or whatever. And naturally, I just think it's about being you, right?
It is. And I think that it's so hard to get out of your own head with it, because there are so many people ready to rip you to shreds, whether it's in person, whether it's online and via the internet, and people who either know a thing or two about music or know a thing or two about writing, or people who just have very strong opinions and want to really
no idea. Yeah.
pull you down. You know, so it's really hard to kind of get into that space where you're like, I'm doing this for me, and I just remember that and not worry about whoever is on the other side of YouTube or on the other side of Instagram or in the bar in the back making a lot of noise, because I might not be what interests them because I have clothes on. I don't know. You know, it's hard to say.
No, completely. But I also found as well, I was at a show once, and it was amazing. There was like this kind of big finale with all these different people from musicals and stuff. And I just sat there and closed my eyes and I listened, and it was beautiful. Like, it was absolutely beautiful. But like I just sung really badly a minute ago, like everyone came on and they literally all sound the same. And you couldn't tell which voice was whose. And I closed my eyes and I went, oh my God, 4 people have sung since I've actually had my eyes closed, and I thought it was still the same bloke.
Oh, I cannot tell you how many times I have been on auditions and I would hear the same voice type in and out of the room, and I would you know, psych myself up in a bad way and be like, I'm not what they're looking for, because I'm not going to go in there and sound very much forward with a lick of vibrato. Like, so I was like, if that's what they want, then I'm not it.
Yeah.
There is a very specific sound in theater, and that's not to diss theater. I still love musical theater and try to get involved with it as often as I can. I was able to do a show last summer at a regional theater way upstate New York by Canada. So, you know, I get involved when I can, and I still love it and admire it and respect it so much. But I know
Yeah, it's
that
incredible.
I'm a hard sell.
Really?
I live life in the crevice. You know, there's people in the, you know, pop folk arena who are like, wow, you have a very theatrical voice, and then there are people in the theater world that are like, oh, your voice is a little more pop folk, and so there's the crevice, and that's where I
Yeah.
live.
Or your voice is just Vincent DiGeronimo.
There, and there you are.
Absolutely. So not crevice, niche.
I think niche. I like that. Yeah, niche is a
Absolutely.
much nicer word than crevice.
So, well,
I'd rather live in a niche than
in
in
the
a
crevice, it could get very stuffy in there.
I like that. I'm gonna start doing that instead. Thank you.
So you're into kind of musical theatre, you know, you're kind of in and around that kind of genre of music. When you're getting home, are you like sitting back and blasting Van Halen, or are you kind of chilling out to, I don't know, Cyndi Lauper? I mean, like when you kind of were kicking back, were you still into the same music that you were in and around, or was you kind of listening to things that were completely different to your style?
You know, I mean, now or back then? Back in the day.
Then,
Back then,
Mm.
I would still listen to, you know, the cast recordings of any show that I wanted to see, or any show that I wanted to do, or any show that I was doing. I would always pick up the cast recording. And this is the, you know, CDs were still, this was before MP3s and iPhones and all that stuff. So I would have to go to the store and pick
A
up
record
this
store.
compact disc and put it in my boombox. But I would listen to a lot of musical theater stuff. But I would also, again, I listened to a lot of Jewel, a lot of Sarah McLachlan, like I said,
oh,
Paula
Sarah,
Cole,
God, she's a
huge,
goddess.
Ani DeFranco, and you know, I was just so heavily influenced by those women. So it really all it depended on what I was working on. It depended on what mood I was in.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was never just one or the other. It was always kind of like, what's happening today?
And any guys, because actually in my youth, I actually didn't listen to any, I didn't even like guys' voices. So I didn't have any guy singers in my list of faves at all.
It's very hard for me, and I don't know why that is. I don't know why it's hard for me to get into men's voices the way it is for me to get into women's.
I mean, obviously that was post Jaden Cornelius, pre Jaden Cornelius. I understand that, but so why, and you don't know why that is?
I really honestly don't. Part of it was very much I felt not good enough. I could never hit the notes as high or have the same tone and ease with which a lot of male singers do, and so that would really frustrate me. So I would stop trying to emulate, stop listening. But I've started to come around a little more in the last few years. You know, I really love Mumford & Son,
Okay.
the lead singer from that. His solo album is really, really great. There are some men in the theater world that I just love the sounds of their voices, even though I can't sing like them. I've tried to stop worrying about that so much. Stephen Pasquale, Ben Platt, whose original work, his second album, I absolutely love, and that kind of indie pop sound that he's using, I really, really admire, and I'm trying to segue into that on my newer stuff. In terms of songwriting style, not the sound of my voice, because again, I don't sound like that. But you know, I'm coming around a little bit on male singers.
So are you baritone?
I'm baritone bass, yes.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
like a baritone. I can get up a little
Yeah,
bit.
that baritone thing drives me crazy.
Drives me crazy because I want to be a tenor when I grow up.
Me too, because everyone writes for tenors.
I know, and that always
writers.
good singers are tenors.
You know what drives me crazy is when I'm reading casting breakdowns and they're like, you know, baritone, but you know, be able to comfortably sing an A, and I'm like, that's not a baritone. That's a tenor.
And it's not comfortable.
It's right. I mean, I can scream something that might resemble an A, but that's not pretty.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear that or see that. So yeah, I wish I was more tenor, but I'm definitely down at the low end.
Down at the low end. Well, you're writing and singing the stuff that really suits your voice because it does sound amazing. Are you still into the same music you were into? Did you bring all that with you, or have your taste kind of evolved as you started getting more into your own stuff?
I still listen to a lot of the same stuff that I have been listening to for the last 20, 30 years.
Wow.
But over the last few years, I've really started to appreciate pop music more.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the artists that I like, who started out in like one kind of genre of like indie folk, have kind of segued into a more pop sound. Tegan and Sarah, Ingrid Michaelson, you know, they are really utilizing synthesizers and beats, but still really incorporating like really great melodies and lovely lyrics. So like I've really started to listen to a lot more of that stuff. Orla Gartland from the UK, Chairlift. So yeah, a lot more indie pop has kind of worked its way into my shuffle.
Really, I'm quite my playlist, because I'm getting on a little bit now. So I listen to the music that I was into when I was a kid, and then so I've got nearly 5 decades of music. And then I listened to the music that my mum was into, so that's another 3 decades before me. And then I kind of remember the music that my grandmother was. Oh, you have cat.
She's such an attention whore that I can't do
Yeah,
anything.
I've actually got 10 cats, and they all have to go in the garden when I'm recording. Otherwise, they would all be like this. I wouldn't even be able to see who I was talking to.
I can't tell you how many recordings this cat has ruined.
Really?
As I'm trying to lay a vocal down or do a ukulele or guitar part, she will come scurrying into the room and jump on something that makes a huge crashing sound. So,
yeah,
but she's my queen, so I allow it.
And look, she knows that she's loved. That's amazing. No, it's lovely to have 2 guests. That's even, we have to put her social media details in there.
She should have her own page.
So you're actually in New York City, right?
Yes.
So what kind of events and what kind of places do you play? Like, how are you received by the New Yorkers?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's a very saturated market. You know, there are a lot of places that you can try to play at, but I've noticed lately, if you don't have a really, really large social media following, places won't even book you.
Yeah.
I mean, I submitted my stuff to one music hall that I will not name, that has a few various different spaces of size, and I, just sent them my stuff for the smallest space they had. Like, I'm talking like it'll fit 15 people, maybe 20 people, and they were like, "Yeah, we're looking for people with a higher Instagram and Twitter following." And I was like, "Oh wow, oh, okay." But I've had the pleasure of playing some really lovely spaces. The Metropolitan Room was amazing. I've had the absolute joy and honor of playing the Stonewall Inn, which is iconic. And there's a wonderful bar that I love on Christopher Street called Rock Bar.
Okay.
It's a queer space, and they host all different kinds of events. And I did a singing competition there a few years ago. I came in second place. I did not win.
But it's always the second place that go further than the first, right?
Sometimes. So I've been lucky enough to the owner very much enjoys what I have to offer, and so I've had the privilege of doing an album release show there last year when I put out my 3rd album, and as I'm working on my 4th, the owner is like, "Just let me know whenever you want to play." So I try to find spaces that are mostly queer. I know I'm kind of limiting myself by doing that.
Think it's not you're limiting, is the fact that they're more accepting.
Well, that's it. I don't want to worry about who is going to be in attendance. I don't want to worry about what I'm saying that might or might not be taken poorly. So yeah, I feel more comfortable in queer spaces, and so that's really where I tend to.
I have a poster on my wall here, just behind my Jaden show, where it was the biggest, one of the biggest buzzes for me was I went out to New York to sing, and I sang at the Duplex.
Oh, I love the Duplex. I've
And
seen
yeah, I
that.
sung there, and I still have the poster that was outside. I'm like,
Yeah.
right, and a little photo of me in New York City.
Yes. When are you
So,
coming back? When are you coming back?
well, I don't know when they invite me. I was classical crossover boy then, and now I'm kind of, and this has been mentioned on so many other shows about the fragility of our industry because how the whole COVID affected us, and whereas before you had to be really well. Some artists had to be really kind of regimented, like this is your pigeonhole, you shall not move from that pigeonhole in any way, shape, or form, right?
Right.
And then a lot of people started thinking, actually, well, the kind of industry is pretty fucked anyway because COVID has ruined everything. So now I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to do what I want. So at the moment, I'm kind of enjoying getting. I've done classical crossover for 15 years, released 3 albums. And now I'm kind of enjoying just playing with music and doing stuff that I like. Now I've got over, I moved to Mexico with 30 songs, all classical crossover. I have over 600 and something now. And by over 230 different artists, from Whitney to the Eagles, from ABBA to, I don't know, Jose, a really classical Mexican artist. And now I'm just enjoying doing what I'm doing. So I'm kind of like, enjoying pop, and I even recorded a reggaeton song. Actually, that was really cool. And Kissed the Boy in the Sea.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, well, we had to pay him to do it, and he was straight. But I mean, but hey, no pain, no gain.
That's true. There you go.
So that was good fun. So I'm kind of just enjoying playing with my genre. So the genre of Jaden. So I don't know when I'm going to come back. I don't, because maybe I have to find somewhere that wants me.
Well, I'm sure it will not be hard. So
Well,
there's that.
I'll let you know.
All right, please do. I
Absolutely.
will be very offended if you arrive in New York and I'm not made aware.
Okay, no, we would be talking about it. Not to worry. Now, listen, what are you doing at the moment? Because I just heard a little rumbling by your fine self that you're working on a 4th album.
I am. Yes.
How far are you on with that at the moment?
I'm still very much in the writing / putting down demo rough vocals and I constantly working on all of the accoutrement that you see around you. So it's very much in the early stages.
Okay.
But I'm also very much like, I want to get it done. I want to but so yeah, it's still very much a zygote right now.
Are you planning to release it this year, or it will be released when it's released?
I would love to release it this year. I would love to, but will I have the time and the resources to devote to it and make it exactly what I want? I don't know. So maybe.
Okay, so it'll be out when it's out.
It'll be out when it's out, right?
Fantastic. So what about you? What's that?
I said fingers crossed for 2023, but
well, we're only in the 3rd week of Jan, 4th week of Jan. I can't remember where we are now. But yeah, so where is it? 1st week of February. Anyway, we're somewhere. So we're early 2023.
Yes.
So you've got a good 10 3/4 months left.
Yeah. So
maybe by Christmas, maybe as the Christmas present to the world.
Well, wouldn't that be
special?
No, I don't know. It was like a really bad religious joke, and
you could have done. It's my show. Nothing. So what? So releasing a 4th album, which is pretty incredible. Any other plans? Plans for touring? Plans for gigging? Or are you kind of like head down and getting on with your album at the moment?
I would like to stay very focused on writing and recording this album, so that way I can start to maybe play some more shows. I would really love to start submitting some work to music supervisors for television programs and things like that. I think it's a great it's a brilliant marketing tool. Some very small independent artists have done a lot of great things by just having one song appear on a television show, So I would love to look into that more seriously. I might do some auditioning for some summer stock theater, but that's all up in the air what's available, what shows are being produced, and what I might be right for.
So it really is about just kind of knuckling down to your album and seeing what doors open when they open, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm really I after I released my last album, which was a little over a year ago, which was all about, not all about, but mostly about the death of my father and handling complicated grief and all of that stuff. I was unsure what I could write that would be interesting or slightly different, or would it just be too much of the same, like, you know, sad queer man gets old. So I wasn't quite sure what I would do. But like I said, Ingrid Michaelson's latest album, Stranger Songs, which is very kind of 80s pop, and it was whether directly linked or inadvertently linked to the show Stranger Things. She was a huge fan of the show Stranger Things, so she kind of built this whole album around that show. And so
Wow.
I was really digging that. And like I said, I was really digging Ben Platt's latest album, which has a lot of kind of synth heavy pop sounds. A show from your side of the pond actually came out last year, Heartstopper.
Oh my God, I watched
And
it
can I
7
tell
times
you,
now.
I honestly, the new album that I'm writing is not is about that. It's a concept album, really,
Okay.
about Heartstopper and that whole feeling of youth and young queerness, and so I'm taking a lot of the
That was my whole story, but I didn't get the rugby player. Left
what-
school before he came and saved me, bastard.
damn it,
Damn it, Janet.
damn it.
But a great show, bloody amazing, and really pure. Just there was nothing overt, there was nothing sexual, there was nothing overtly coarse, there was nothing kind of that would jar anybody. It was just fucking lovely.
Yeah.
Like one of the nicest things I've watched in a long ass time, man.
Have you read the graphic novel series?
No, I don't get time. I'd love to get time to read.
I am obsessed, and I have the entire series by my piano with little sticky notes because there are things that I want to write about and songs
Wow, okay.
based off of or inspired by just that and the music that was used in the series.
Right.
I was like, this is the sound that I would like to. So, like I said, after my last album, I wasn't sure what I would write into this.
And that was became your muse.
And yeah, I mean,
and it was filmed literally 5 minutes down the road from where I used to live. I was like, shit, if I lived there now, I could have gone and stalked everybody.
Right, exactly. I have to find whoever is in charge of the music for that show, because I would love.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
One of my little ditties on that.
Well, I'm even more excited about your 4th album now, because that sounds great. So you will need to come back on the show and talk about that as soon as it's ready to go.
I would love to.
And if you get any news, like it's going to be featured on the third series of Heartstopper or something like that, that would be amazing.
From your lips to the universe's ears. I don't know. Right now, that's the dream. That's the dream. I've actually had the pleasure of singing with my idol, Paula Cole. I've had
really
the honor, and that was and still is like the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. But I think that if I could get a song on like Heartstopper, that would be like a really close second. That would be so cool.
See, for me, because I'm getting old, the problem is the people I want to sing to are dying.
What, such as?
Well, Karen Carpenter was dead before I even became a singer. She would have been my dream. Our Livy, who I kind of did get to meet a few times, Livy Newton-John, she kind of, horrifically went last year. Yeah. So that kind of blew my whole muse dream thing out of the water. So now I've only got Linda Carter, amazing jazz artist.
Okay.
Great voice, Wonder Woman, bless her. Wow. And just because I was the hugest ABBA fan, I really want to sing with Danietta from ABBA.
Okay.
So
look, there is hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you meet them in New York at your, Madison Square Garden concert or something, if you could just like put in a word for little Jaden in the jungles of Mexico, that would be great.
Do you see this poster back here?
I can see Judy.
Well, yes. You want to talk about dead idols?
Oh,
I mean, that would have been amazing.
Oh my God.
That would have been something else. But
Yeah, and some. Oh, one day people say, "Oh, I really want to be singing with Vincent DiGeronimo," and oh my God, if only I could sing with Jaden Cornelius. Maybe we should do something in the future,
I think
just to get them really worked up.
That's right. That's right. And then they'll be like, if I could just land in the
In
middle,
the middle, be a
of that
Jaden
niche,
Vincent
not the
sandwich.
crevice, not the
No,
crevice
in the niche.
of
Yeah,
Jaden.
landing in the middle of our crevice.
Well, now
It's
that's a whole
sounds a bit
other
weird.
conversation.
And a whole other show, I feel. Maybe not for Sunday, the Sabbath.
Yeah.
So, where can people find you on social media?
They can find me on Instagram. My name is Vincent, Vincent 9 NINE, and then the digits 24. That's on Instagram, Vincent924. On Twitter, VPD81. And then VincentDiGeronimo.com, Vincent DiGeronimo on Facebook. I think those are all of them.
Wow, man, that's amazing. And the fact that you even know them is pretty impressive.
You know, you start to internalize things that you say often.
So everything, I just say Google Jaden Cornelius with an IOUS, you'll find me.
Yeah,
Because I don't remember where I am.
Anytime people are like, "Oh, where can we find your music?" I'm like, just search my name on Spotify or Apple Music, and it will pop up.
Well, that's amazing. And guys at home, I suggest you do that, because firstly, it'll be bloody rude if you don't. And secondly, you won't regret it, because his music is absolutely stunning. Vincent, thank you so much for being on my show.
Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
you will come back and talk to me when things progress and your next project is happening, or your next release, or whatever. Something exciting happens, then, you know, give me a nod and we'll chat about it.
I would love to. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, my friend. Take care. Biggest hugs from Mexico to New York City, concrete jungle where dreams are made of.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so true.
Take care, my friend.
Bye.
See you later, mate. Bye-bye. How super cool is he? Please go and follow him on all of his social media platforms, and go and listen and check out his music on download and streaming platforms too, on Spotify, Apple. I'm sure he is everywhere. Go and check that boy out. Go and show him some love. Go and support him. Thank you so very much for joining me again this Sunday for the Jaden Show. I've had a really lovely time. I hope you've had one too. I hope you've had one too. Not one, two. Shut up, Jaden. Anyway, listen. Next week, I have another very special guest, so I hope you'll come back and join me next week. In the meantime, you have 6 days where you can find me on TikTok, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and come and say hello to me there and check out what I'm doing with the other 6 days of my week. So come and say hello. Don't be shy. I will see you next Sunday. But before we leave, I'm going to show you another video from the amazing Vincent DiGeronimo. This is called That Word. This is Vincent. Stay beautiful. See you next Sunday on the Jaden Show. Take care. Bye.
Have you ever heard one thing that is overused but hardly ever meant? Pulled out like a weapon when they say something you just cannot accept. I can't say I haven't used that